Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Mark Your Trade show. My name is Tony Mizell. I am the CDE of Mark Your Trade, and welcome to the show. Our company, we basically help parents become a better version of themselves, as well as, well, if you need coaching or anything like that, we do a bunch of different parts. But today's episode that we're going to be talking about is to be healthy parents so you can have healthy kids. And I have one of the most expert person I know in her field when it comes to health, which also leads to wealth. And her name is Deanna Rose. How are you doing today, Deanna?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much for having me, Tony. What a pleasure. Thank you.
Absolutely. I'm really glad that you found the time that you'd be able to come onto the show for today to talk to our parents and to our audience. Can you tell us how you got into being a health coach and into the health industry and why it's so important to you?
Yeah, it's actually a fairly long story, but I won't bore you with the whole story. So I actually started in the mental health field. So growing up, I had a lot of mental health issues around me. And when I was going through my teenage years, I went through depression and suicidal thoughts myself. And a lot of loved ones also went through, and some are still currently going through mental health issues. So I started my full-time career working for the one of the Canadian provinces for um, with adolescents who were suffering from addiction issues, from conduct disorders, and some of them were actually in the legal system as well. And I saw there was a huge gap between the mental health aspect of treatment versus how they were being treated physically. So they weren't being nourished from a food perspective, from a nutrition perspective. They didn't really, the facility that I was at least, they didn't really care about the sleep quality or stress management or any of those things, but it was more so just focusing on talk therapy. And of course, there were, psychiatrists on site as well. And so a lot of drug therapy as well. So I saw, um, a lot of really heartbreaking cases on site, and a lot of these kids after they start taking these antipsychotics, and you could just see their personality disappear. And at the same time, they were gaining a lot of weight because of the meds, and also at the same time it's because their nutrition wasn't being taken care of. They weren't able to move around, they didn't really do a lot of stuff. So that's when I decided to go into school for naturopathic medicine. So I ended up moving across the country about 6 years ago, and I finished my degree in naturopathic medicine. And in naturopathic medicine, I realized there wasn't a lot of focus on mental health. So that's why I started my own company, and I really, really want to make sure that, as humans in general, and I work with a lot of entrepreneurs and high achievers and a lot of parents. I mean, I think if you're a parent, you're a high achiever because you're literally running around with little kids, and you're taking care of your children as well as your job, as well as your family. So that's a lot of stuff going on. And it's just really focusing on your mental health and your physical health, and really taking care of your body as a whole, and really take advantage of the gift that we were given from birth is how intricate and how amazing our body is in working synergistically with our brain and with our mind, to make sure that we're able to fulfill our purpose in life, our passion, as well as be of service to the rest of humanity. So that's why I started my company, and yeah, that's where the value still aligns to this point. Yeah.
Where do you see? So, according to the U.S. National Health Association, they're saying that currently at this moment that 78% of all adults are living unhealthily, and that's why there's been a big industry boom when it came to health and health products and health awareness as well. What would be one key part that you could tell us that would help this part go down? What's one benefactor that would be good for a parent to know to keep their health on track with all the stuff going on in
Hmm.
their lives?
I think the biggest thing, to me, I think the biggest thing is food. But for a lot of people, it's and this is something that I tell my clients as well, is pick one thing that works for you, whether that is getting more sleep, whether that is changing up your food, your diet patterns, or that is increasing, the amount of, I call it movement because I don't want to say exercise, because there's, it doesn't have to be something that's so, so like linear. It can be, going out for a walk. That can be your type of movement, or stretching. That can be your movement. So pick one big category that works for you. But the reason why I say nutrition is because food is something that we'll put into the body every single day. So your food can kill you, or your food can heal you. And a lot of us eat without understanding why we eat and the effect the food has on our body. We see a hamburger and automatically, our survival instincts, our dopamine kicks in and says, yes, I want that hamburger because it tastes so damn good. And then our mouth starts drooling and we're like, yes, let's have that. And you talk yourself into that hamburger basically. And versus, when you're eating something on a so-called healthy, things that are, let's say a stew, or like a really healthy soup, or some sort of salad, those things that actually, nourish your body. And what a lot of people don't realize is that the food that you eat is constantly interacting with your cells and your DNA. And epigenetics, I think a lot of people have heard of it, is how your food and your environment and everything you do in life from birth activates different genes within your body. So if you start changing your lifestyle, if you start changing, whether that's movement, whether that's habits, your sleep pattern, your mindset, the food you eat, so all these things can switch on and off certain genes, make you more prone to certain conditions, certain diseases. And I'm sure everyone has heard of stories about a relative who's had an autoimmune disease, for example, where like their entire family has some sort of condition, but that person just doesn't have it at all. And part of that, it could be epigenetics. Another part could be, how they really take care of themselves, in terms of, prevention, from a prevention perspective. So a lot of that is really, really starting to shift your perspective on why we do the things we do. We don't do exercise just so you can get ripped, get a six pack. You exercise because as humans, we're designed to move. We were designed to go out, whether, go for a walk or go hunt an animal or whatever it may be. We're designed to move. We're designed to load weight. And, just give you a really quick example is the best thing for you to do for your bone density for the younger population and the older population, and this is based on research, is weight loading resistance exercise, is not calcium. So that tells you, how important it is to really focus on the little things in life. Is go out, lift some weights, whether that's like a big log or a bar at the gym, whatever it may be, is integrating these little things into your life that makes tremendous difference in life. I hope that answered your question. I feel like I went off track a little bit there. I apologize.
Oh no, that was perfect. Now, a lot of parents' misconception, at least when I know with fitness and with your company Wealth, there was a subject that I had watched on your show. What it says is there's a misconception of to be healthy or to eat healthy, or you just need to eat vegetables and fruits, or more so salad, but not necessarily the case. Can you tell us a little bit about that? More what a person should be eating?
Yeah, totally. I think earlier, even when I said healthy, I put air quotes around it because healthy should be defined differently for everybody, and we're all very unique individuals because of our genetics, because of our environment, because of our microbiome, even how what kind of birth you had, either as vaginal or C-section. That even makes a difference in how your body continues to grow and develop, and of course into older age, and what type of food you tend to eat, climate wise, what country you live in. All these different factors really play a role in how our body continues to develop and the type of food it prefers. So when it comes to healthy food, I've had clients who are like, I love kale because kale is so healthy, and they were thinking full full confidence from their part, thinking that they're, they have like the healthiest diet. So I got them off of kale. I got them off of the salads. So just to give you a quick little background, so this client actually, she had a lifelong issue of bloating, loose stool all her life, and she's been eating super healthy salads, grilled chicken or baked chicken or things that you would think is really healthy. But what didn't work for her was because she couldn't eat salads. She couldn't eat raw vegetables. For a lot of people, especially women, they can't digest raw vegetables and fruits. And there are certain people who can't eat certain types of vegetables. So it's important for you to start, noticing your body's symptoms. And your symptoms from the body is basically little messages to you from your body saying, I don't really like it, I'm bloated right now, so can you please go eat something else? Can you try something else? The stool is a little bit loose. Now start looking at what kind of food you were eating before. So it's very individualized, and for just as a starting point for you is to start noticing some of the symptoms you have, and understand that sometimes, if you've been experiencing something for so long, you have normalized it. You have probably, thought that is totally normal. So that client I was just talking about, she actually thought bloating is normal. She thought, okay, well, yeah, like this is just how my body works. So you should not be bloated. Your stool should be formed, and you should feel energized after you eat. So these are the things that you should start, really taking into stock of, what kind of symptoms do I have? Actually write them down, have your meal, track your meal, and look at, what you eat, and then look at the symptoms after. It's not about calories or macros or any of that stuff. It's just about having an understanding of what you're putting into your body. That's an input, and what is the output that comes out. The input is a type of food, the amount of sleep, the thoughts that you have, the amount of exercise you have, for example, the amount of stress you have, and the output is, do I have mental clarity? Do I have a lot of energy? How does my stool look like? Do I have any bloating symptoms? So start tracking these things to really start to understand what your body likes and doesn't like. And over time, if you do it long enough, and by long enough, I mean a week is long enough, and you start to notice patterns of what your body actually enjoys. And one more thing I'm going to tell you, and I tend to talk a lot, you probably notice, is that go with the seasons. And wherever you are in the world, like Tony, I know you're in New York, so, New York is cold right now. You want to make sure that you eat things that are in season. So things like pumpkins, things like squash, things that are warmer in nature, so you're able to balance out the colder weather outside. And for females, it also depends on your cycle. So what time of the month you're in, that also depends on, what you should be eating. And where I am, so I moved to Mexico on Monday this week, it's hot all the time. If I eat a stew, I probably will throw up or like sweat buckets. So, I need to start adjusting my food and what type of food I eat. So it's important for you to go with the season and try to balance out your external environment with your internal environment. I hope that answered your question, and I didn't go on for too long.
If you're watching this right now, you are getting a wealth, pun intended, of knowledge today with Deanna, because he's got a lot of wealth of knowledge. If you're watching this right now, too, hashtag below live. And if you're watching on the replay, definitely hashtag below replay. Because it's taken a while to get this point, and I'm so blessed to have Deanna onto the show, to be honest. So,
thank you.
Deanna, for the parents out there, let's say they're just starting out. So let's say, hypothetically speaking, they might be obese, or they might be struggling with the weight, their self-confidence, and they want to start. They just took their first step for what they're saying for health and food. What would be two of the next steps that they could take in addition to what you just gave them? Can they identify their body type?
Totally. So what I always do with clients is that I use the boat analogy, is it's a leaky boat. You want to patch the boat, and then you want to get the water out. So it's really good for you to, of course, start to introduce things, but at the same time, if you're someone who hasn't really, been on that journey of eating a lot of food that is nourishing for your body, you haven't really been moving a lot, it can feel very intimidating. It can feel like, you might take two steps forward and then one step back, and you feel defeated and you don't even want to go on anymore. So it's important for you to start that journey from a very sustainable perspective and not do things too quickly, and being too ambitious with it. And you can be ambitious later down the road, but it's, baby steps in the beginning, and be very understanding with yourself. So the first thing I usually get people to do is introduce one food, one, whether that's a vegetable, for example. If you're not someone, I know so many people who don't like vegetables. So if you're someone who's like, I hate vegetables, introduce something that you can tolerate. Let's just use that word. For example, you're like, I like cucumbers. Start adding cucumbers into, your food. And then on the other end is, we can't keep bailing water out of the boat unless we patch up the hole. Because if you keep bailing and the hole is still there, it's a never ending process for you. So we want to patch up the hole and bail water out at the same time. Or, on the other side could be, just patching up the hole first and then get the water out. So if you're someone who's already been eating half clean, and then the other half of your week or your day is kind of, filled with processed food, sugary foods, whatever it may be, eliminate one item a week. Eliminate one item every 2 days. So for example, one thing that I always tell people is your baseline, not baseline, to put it in the simplest way is, the rule of thumb, eat whole fresh foods that you can find on a farm. So whether that's meat, whether that's vegetables, whether that's fruits, whether that's grains. However, I never recommend people eating gluten-filled grains. So try to choose from gluten-free grains, but finding things that you can find on a farm, not out of a factory. So if you're able to integrate one thing into your diet and take out one thing once a week, that's more than enough. So think about it. Now, after about 3 months, you've already made so many changes. That's 12 different items you've already introduced into your 3 months period, and you've already taken out, by that point, you probably have already taken out most of your processed foods. And that being said, it's not going to be forever. And I'm not someone who eats clean all the time either, because as humans, we have these things called taste buds that tend to go against us. We want to have, we're like, yes, I know this thing makes my body feel really good. And we see a donut. And I'm such a sucker for donuts, guys. Like, you have no idea. I see a donut and my taste buds goes, no, no, no. Like, I'm going to be a brat right now. I want that donut. And that's totally fine. But part of that is planning. So part of that is not winging your food. And especially as parents, you probably plan your kids' foods, but you neglect yourself. And as a lot of self-development people always talk about is, whether that's in business, whether that's personal development, whether that's parenting, is you can't fill someone else's cup if your cup is empty. And you got to be a role model for your kids as well. So if you're someone who doesn't plan your food, start planning your food. And if you like to, have donuts or have a bag of chips or whatever it may be, plan it out. And you can talk with your partner, let's go out for dinner on Friday. I'm going to have an entire pizza to myself. That's totally fine. But then, the rest of the week, try to eat really whole and fresh foods to make sure that, your body gets what it needs. And then 1 or 2 times a week, and we're not talking about 2 days, we're talking about 2 meals, that you can allow your taste buds to throw a party inside, yeah, that would be my advice. Yeah.
That was great.
These taste buds, they're little rebels.
Speaking of taste buds, there's a lot of trends going on as well when you've got all these MLMs are promoting different health products and promoting different things, and people can get confused saying, okay, is collagen good for me? Is this good for me? Is this random thing that hasn't been FDA approved or tested good for me? What products would you recommend? Or would a person be better going to a health product or taking some of those products that might be from another third party or vendor? What would you recommend for that,
Hmm.
because some of those products, they would taste good, right?
Yeah, totally, totally. So, just to clarify your question, are we talking specifically about supplements
Right. So like
or like
supplements
health products?
or health products, because there's just a lot out there. A lot of people, like for
Hmm.
me personally, I picked like Kayani or their products, shop.com products, all types of healthy products, pretty much day in day out. Of hey, you should join this
Hmm.
type of part on there, and there's so much information, like we've talked about before in the past. How does a person
Hmm.
decipher if this might be good for them compared to maybe just going to get like a product from like an MLM or something like that, or a supplement, as opposed to eating healthy from an organic
Hmm.
place for fruit or vegetables.
Yeah, totally. So I'm gonna go back to the boat analogy. Is, if you're eating crappy food and the supplements or the products that's on top is like the water in the boat. So if you start supplementing, you're like, oh yeah, I eat a crappy diet filled with, you probably won't say this to yourself, but I eat this diet filled with burgers and fries and processed foods. I'm just gonna supplement just in case I'm vitamin deficient. So it's like you bailing water out, but you're not patching up the hole. The hole is your nutrition. So you're basically, and think of it this way, is that you're essentially putting toxin into your body all the time and hoping that these supplements will counteract the effect of the toxins you're putting into your body. So they don't always, balance out, and they rarely ever balance out because the vitamins that's why they're called supplements. They're supplemental. They're not replacements. And even the so-called meal replacements that, back in the day, I remember, I think when I was very, very young, my mom was like looking at those, and now looking back at them, they're literally just chemicals inside, and they're called meal replacements. So even those things are not meal replacement. But if you're someone who eats very clean, who really cares about your performance and, your energy and your health in general, in terms of supplements, I have not had good experiences with MLM products or people, because I simply don't know anything, about their testing process. And in terms of buying supplements, always find supplements that are third party tested, meaning that third party has no affiliation with a company. They're very independent, researchers, whatever, whoever it may be, that come in and test the products to make sure that the quality is there, and the products, have basically are the label has what the product contains inside. So there's no money exchange. There's no, because a lot of other companies is, yes, we test our products, but of course you're going to say your product is top quality because your own people tested it, versus a third party comes in, they're very, they have no stake in the company. So it's important for you to start, looking into some of those supplements. And in Canada, I don't really know about the States, but I know the States has certain, they're called professional grade supplements. They're a little bit hard to find. You can't really find them in drugstores. Sometimes even certain health food stores don't have them. But I would highly recommend professional grade supplements because they're, again, third party tested, but also they really give you what you need in terms of the therapeutic dose as well as the ingredients in there. If you buy something in Canada, for example, you can buy certain things in drugstores, and those things are cheap. Well, they appear cheap, but they probably only have about 10 to 20% active ingredients, versus something that is, maybe 2 times the price with the same amount of capsules, but the active ingredients in there, so meaning that the ingredients will actually do something in your body, is actually anywhere from 80 to 95%. So you're actually buying more active ingredients for a little bit less money if you actually do the calculation. So there are a lot more fillers, and you actually don't even know the quality of supplements inside those drugstore supplements. So start looking at, brands. And if you do have somebody who's, your go-to healthcare provider, ask them about supplement brands that they trust, and make sure that they have no affiliations with them either, to make sure that, so they can tell you what brands to get. And also sometimes you might need a little bit of a, either like a signature or some sort of note to purchase those supplements. Yeah, so I would say do your research if you truly care about, what you put into your body. Do your research and really look at the different brands of supplements.
Awesome. That's a good response. And it didn't quite count on that one, but definitely for sure to do your research is going to be essential in order for you to get the result that you want. I definitely concur with that 100%.
Can I add something really quickly? Sorry for the loudness in the back. Sorry,
Absolutely.
there's just, yeah. So I just want to say, as parents and everybody, humans in general, I think we've become too reliant on healthcare providers. And we think that they will tell us what we need. And in terms of just going back to that research piece, is that, be your own advocate for your own health. And as parents, you're probably always advocating for your kids. You're looking out for your kids. But as for some odd reason, when we go into adulthood, we start relying on other people. It's like we never grew up in that sense. So, especially when it comes to your health, be your own advocate. I know sometimes Canadian healthcare systems, a lot of people don't. GPs, so general practitioners, they don't want to give people blood tests every year. And I keep telling people, if you want to make sure that you stay on top of your health, you have to be your own advocate when it comes to your health, when it comes to getting your blood work done on an annual basis. For women, get your pap done whenever you need to get it done, to make sure that you are looking out for your own health, because nobody else is going to look out for you other than yourself. Your spouse may love you, but they don't understand what you're going through on the inside. So be your own advocate, just like how you would advocate for your children. Sorry for the addition there.
Oh no, you're good. You're good, Deanna. But that actually kind of is perfect because it segues into my other question. When you're doing your research and you're trying to provide the best services not only for yourself but to your children as well, what is one healthy either mental health or nutritional health would you advise a person to start with per day if they're starting out?
So are we talking about food wise, or are we talking about like supplements?
Just food wise, either food wise or like a mental health practice that a person could do if they're just starting out, and this is the path that
Mm-hmm.
they're choosing. What would you recommend?
Okay.
One tip.
I say breathe. It's so simple. We all breathe, but most of us don't breathe properly. And when we are not breathing properly, it actually activates our fight or flight, our sympathetic nervous system. And most of us, especially Tony, you know this, you're in New York. Everybody's probably like this because everyone's so stressed out. And, when we don't breathe properly, our diaphragm doesn't get expanded and our lungs can't fill up to full capacity. And our diaphragm actually has direct nervous connections to our breathing centers and our brain in terms of detecting any changes in terms of signals. So if we're not taking full expansive breath, we're actually not activating the parasympathetic nervous system. We're actually activating more so of the stress nervous system. So that actually, leads us to eating more, having more cravings, feeling more anxious, feeling less settled. So all these symptoms that nobody really likes, so associated with stress and burnout. So these are the things that, that are rooted in something as simple as breathing. So if you are able to allow yourself to breathe, expand your lungs, allow your belly to pop out. I think for women especially, we like to suck the stomach in to feel like we're slim, but just let it go.
That's
Just
huge.
let it go, right? You just gotta, you gotta take care of yourself. You gotta breathe in through the nose, because when you start breathing into the nose, it actually activates the parasympathetic nervous system. And then longer exhales also activates the parasympathetic nervous system. So having your exhales always longer than your inhale, and then always inhaling through the nose. and just allow your body to relax. And when you start breathing a lot more deeply and a lot more freely, you're going to feel your body relax as well. And just be aware of your body posture. Um, there are certain positions, we tend to, and I'm pretty sure, you probably have noticed this. Where you haven't noticed, just check your body posture right now as you're listening to this or watching this, is we tend to go into almost a fetal position when we're stressed out. And, when we're working on a computer, where when we're really stressed, we tend to go into the fetal position because that's a very defensive body position. So when you open up your body, allow your shoulders to open up, allow your chest to open up, that gives you more room to breathe. That also, makes you feel more confident, makes you feel better. And for kids, especially these days, all kids are wearing masks. And, I've heard of a lot of stories from parents saying that kids don't want to take off their masks because they feel like now they can hide behind something. That, that human interaction piece is slowly going away. And unfortunately for a lot of kids, is, giving them that sense of confidence back by shifting their body language and changing the way that they carry themselves, of course, is also important. So all of these things, with movement, with your body posture, with how you breathe, your lifestyle practices, as well as your food, of course, these are all really, really important factors that are all interconnected with each other.
That's great. I'm going to take the for this other question. I'm going to take it to a completely different realm. Well, it's not,
Okay.
but for this one, as you know, with my business, I help parent business owners kind of excel their art for the processes and systems. Now,
Mm-hmm.
these people that I work with, that are my clients that I work with, they're on a completely different level because they're always worried about their health, because their health directly affects their business, which also,
Mm-hmm.
when it affects their business, it obviously affects their revenue income stream. So health is definitely one of the top things that they're concerned about. If you are a parent coach that is concerned about your fitness plan or your fitness, what advice would you give for that type of person to be at an optimal rate of fitness, going day in and day out because they're going really hard every single day? Is there a piece of
Mm-hmm.
advice that you like to give that type of client?
So you're saying the person that starting off, they're not really working out, or do they already have a routine of working out?
They have a routine of working out, but they're so burnt out by the end of the day that,
Right?
because they're not staying at an optimal level of energy. Is there a piece of
Mm-hmm.
advice that a person that it's a parent that's a business owner can stay at an optimal level of energy consistently throughout the day, and then still get their sleep and everything else that's going to keep their body going through the day? Is there a piece of advice that you could give a person like that to keep an optimal level of energy?
Yeah, totally. I'm gonna go back to food really quickly because everything again is interrelated. So and you probably have noticed this, is what you eat for lunch is and what you eat for breakfast as well. It really determines your energy level by 1 p.m., 2 p.m. And the reason why people have that crash is, one is because most of us are sitting from a computer as we speak, we're sitting in front of a computer and we're constantly staring at a screen. And when you eat crappy food, by crappy food I mean, food that doesn't give you energy, that actually takes away energy, you experience that crash, and you experience that low, that gradual decrease in energy throughout the day. And sometimes, your energy might spike up later on, but for a lot of people, they do experience that 2 to 3 hours of low productivity, low focus, and just feeling really, really down. So part of that definitely is food. But in terms of movement, what I really recommend to people is that setting an alarm every 45 to an hour to get up and walk around and shift your gaze, because where you look at is really important. And when it comes to screen, it gives us a very narrow vision, almost a tunnel vision, as we look at a screen. So it's a very narrow, or nearsighted focus. I don't think that's the right term, but that's okay. You guys understand. So you're looking at something that's very close and very, very much a tunnel vision. And So in our brain, when we look at something that is narrow and tunnel vision, that actually activates, a lot of stress hormones. That actually makes us stressed, anxious, but over time, stress is actually very taxing on the body. And over time, you're going to experience that tiredness, that fatigue, drop in energy later on in the day. So shift your gaze from, a very narrow view over to something far. Even if you're staring at a wall, that's totally fine. But allow yourself to shift your gaze, and this can be done every 10 to 15 minutes in addition to the every 45 minutes to an hour, getting up and moving around. And part of the sitting for too long is that, we're not allowing the blood to flow through the body. And blood is really important in terms of carrying oxygen to the muscles, to the bones, to the joints, to everything in the body, but also it carries toxins out in and out of different organs, muscles, and all that stuff. So it's important to get the blood flowing, slash getting the energy flowing. So moving your gaze, allowing yourself to move around. And if you're someone who works out a lot, or who works out pretty hardcore, at the gym, but you also work out where you work really hard in front of the computer, make sure that, you do take rest days. Make sure that you do find a time in the day that you have, I would say, not the least energy, but not the most energy to work out. When you have the most energy, the most focus, you should probably do, deep work for your business. But the in between area, and everybody has a different timing for that time when it comes to, not too high, not too low in terms of energy. So find that middle spot and figure out what time works best for you, and hit the gym, around that time. And make sure you always refuel. Either eat before or after to allow yourself or allow your body to recover, refuel, and so you can have a shorter recovery time, so you can go hard again the next day. Yeah, did that answer your question?
Yes. And we have the
Okay.
same philosophy, stronger than the day before. Love that. So I actually have a shirt on there. It says no excuses.
Nice.
Stronger than yesterday.
Nice.
But
Love it.
with that being said, if everyone that's watching the show, you definitely got to be catching this replay if you're not watching this live currently right now. But with that being said, Deanna, if people would like to connect with you and work with you, where can they reach you at currently at the moment?
My website is Deanna, Deanna, wrose.com, and my email, that which you can reach me from my website. You can also find me through my email. Just added Deanna at the same website in front, so Deanna at deannawrose.com. You can also find me on Instagram, Dr. Deanna Rose, and then on Facebook is Deanna Rose. So everything's, if you just search up Deanna Rose, I'm pretty sure I'll pop up somewhere.
Gotta love Google.
Yeah, I know, but you know what? There's also a Deanna Rose animal farm. I definitely don't have an animal farm, so that's definitely not me. Other than that, I think you'll be able to find me. Yeah.
That's awesome. Well, Deanna, thank you so much for being on the show today. I really do appreciate that. And for all of you out in the audience right now, my name is Tony Mizell. Stay tuned for another episode of Mark Your Trade Show. And as always, keep on moving up with your intentions out. Signing out for now.
Thank you.